Hello. Can you hear me okay?
Very well. And you?
Yes.
Perfect.
Good. Good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
From sunny California.
From sunny Germany.
Oh, yay.
Yay. Very rare occasion, but yes, today it's, I looked it up, it's 89 Fahrenheit.
Really warm.
And I'm wearing this because it's actually it's actually Molly. So I wanted to show you, even though it's hot. Yeah.
I'm wearing Emma.
Oh, much better. Much better choice.
I mean, it's the only one I can stand. I mean, it's probably going to get 80, so not as hot as you today.
Okay.
But it's, tape, cotton yarn, so it's not so, or linen. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not so hot.
Yeah. Perfect.
So you're really retiring?
Yeah.
I can't even imagine.
It is much easier than I thought. And, we are doing it on a voluntary basis. It's not that somebody stole our company or that we went bankrupt. We wanted it. And I'm 61. I think my life account of working hours is more than full with being self-employed since I'm 21. So I think it's time. Julie, do you remember how we met?
Well, it's funny because I tried to get Tracy to come along because she's the one who marched down and found you and dragged you to my booth.
Okay.
And the reason was that, so we did the H&H show, the Hobby and Handarbeit in Cologne. And we had a lot of interest. A lot of shops were stopping by and they were very interested in buying from us. And I had dragged my friend and sometimes co-worker. She helps with all kinds of odd jobs. I had dragged her along. She was going to do my international wholesale if the show was successful. And so she was helping me in the booth, talking to all these shops and thinking to herself, I have to figure out how to get all this stuff shipped to Europe.
I remember.
If they order from us, it's on me. And she was just completely overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And she saw we saw your booth was just about 3 down from ours. And busy.
Yeah.
And she saw that you distributed, I can't remember who you distributed before us, maybe just other designers?
No, just yarn brands, the Fiber Co. And this was our first year with the Fiber Co.
That's right. So Tracy repped for Fiber Co in the US.
Yeah, I remember.
And so she kind of saw you guys and was like, okay, good. If they distribute for Fiber Co,
they couldn't be that bad.
Might be a good fit. And she went down and said, found the right person to talk to and said, please come down and look at our booth.
And I had already walked by your booth several times walking to the ladies' room. And I was like, what is this? Because I was never very much into needles or accessories. So I was like, all these little colorful things, what am I supposed to do with this? Okay, but they are very busy. So I went back to the booth and here came this lady, we have a problem. And she handed me this pile of orders. We received all these orders and I have no idea what to do with this. Can you help us? This was so funny. This is how it all started.
And it's funny because we didn't really go to the show thinking we want to find a distributor. But that was the best thing to come out of the show because it makes so much more sense to ship in volume and let you distribute it.
Yeah. It was so funny. But how many years ago was this?
Oh.
Like 10?
20, yeah, maybe 2015.
I think so, almost 10 years.
Wow.
Good.
It was before I wrote the book.
Was it before the sweater workshop?
Yep.
Ah, okay.
Yep, because I remember the year that I had the book then, I was in a little booth, like I was with you, with
Yes.
Kremke, but off to the, like in my own little booth,
Corner. Yeah.
with the book to try and explain the coconut sweater workshop to people, which is a lot to sort of explain. But once people get it, it's such a, it's, I love knitting this way.
And I
Really,
remember
you
that
too?
when I first got it, I was like, hey, why do I need so many stitch markers? What are all these colors? And then I made my first project, and it's this one, and I'm wearing it in spite the fact that we have 89 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 32 Celsius, just to show you, to prove that I'm really working with your sweater workshop. And I enjoyed, in the meantime, I've done, I think, 5 or 6 of them, and I enjoy it very much. And it's already my second book because the first one was so worn out that I had to replace it anyway. So it's really fun. But I think for non-English speakers, still also the videos are not so easy. And so we would like to also help the German-speaking audience to get an easy access to this one, because it's
we've
really
got
fun to knit.
our class has been translated into French and Italian, and it's being
Yeah.
translated into Spanish now. We're waiting for some contacts from you about, or not you specifically, but your company, who might want to translate it into German. And then they have, so I'm wearing the Emma pullover. It's the one that's on the cover, and then there's also a V-neck version. And it's a really good one to start with. So that's the class, and it's over 6 hours of instruction, step by step by step, every single step. And once you see how it works, it's very common sense, and then you can knit any of these.
I think so too. But how do you, I mean, can I ask you, what is your original professional education? Have you always been a designer, or are you a bookkeeper?
In a way, yes. I've always done art, but more design. But I was an English major and studied English literature and German. I studied at the university in Salzburg for a year.
Okay. I will not ask you to speak German.
And I coincidentally met or married a guy who is German but was raised in England. So he really, I mean, he can still speak German, but that's not why I speak German. It's because I studied it in school and then lived there and studied at the University of Salzburg. But no, and then after I graduated, I thought I should go to design school, but in the meantime, I was knitting. I had fallen in love. I actually learned to knit in Austria. I had a grandmother who was a prolific knitter. I didn't need to learn how to knit because I could show her a sweater in a magazine and I'd have it 2 weeks later. She was a prolific knitter, and now I know where I get it. So when I went to the university in Salzburg, everybody was knitting then. This is 81.
Exactly.
82. And I thought, well, you know, I'm far, I'll try that. And it was like I had done pottery and painting and sewing, and for some reason knitting clicked, and I was crazy about it. So I came back to the States, finished my degree, and I was already knitting, but I had never really learned to knit from a pattern. So I always was designing. I thought that's how you knitted. I didn't realize that people needed a knitting pattern.
Yeah.
And so I had some people ask me if they could buy the sweaters, which led to me having knitters in Ireland and having my sweaters knitted there. And then I sold them in the US right about the time China happened. So suddenly a $200 sweater was now $20. So I only did it for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years maybe. And then there was no point to that part of it. By then I was married, and I can't remember, starting a family, about to start a family. And so I shifted to designing for hand knitters. And then I had to figure out this pattern thing.
The pattern
How
language.
to take what what I was doing and write it out for knitters. And never did get back to design school. So now I feel like there's really no point.
Oh,
I've been
but
doing it,
fast.
yeah, for a long, long time, 40 plus years. And the other thing is that I have always taught through the whole thing. I have always taught mostly sweater knitting. And I think from that point, my whole, everything I did around teaching was helping women figure out how to knit sweaters that fit them the way they want them to fit. So that's the big part of the sweater workshop. First of all, English tailoring, it's been called French tailoring, English tailoring, European shoulder. It's all the same thing. It's an easier way to construct a sweater. It makes sense to my design brain. I think it was an architect or an engineer in a former life. It's an easier way to construct, and you can also knit for your shoulders and get that size right. And then aside from that, move on and decide what sleeve size fits you and what bust size fits you. Sometimes I'm knitting 3 different sizes of sweaters, but you don't let it throw you. Knit for your shoulder size. Now we move on to the next part, decide which sizes you want to knit for your sleeve circumference and your bust circumference. And you can really get a specific fit if you're a narrow shouldered, big busted woman, or if you're broad. I always start with a large because I'm broad shouldered, but don't have the bust. Yeah. So you can pick and choose, and it allows you pretty easily to get a really specific fit.
I must admit that this is actually my favorite sweater because it is really the best fitting. And after that, I have never done any other construction than this or similar ones because it really fits perfectly. And especially the longer back and everything, it's just perfectly thought through, and I really enjoy it. And I think you have a kind of a philosophy about your designs. What is the challenge that you want to meet with your designs?
It is for the easiest. I mean, the other thing is that people who are knitting at home are not professionals. I could make this super complicated for you, but let's not. Let's make it accessible, doable. What's the best result you can get with the easiest methods? So yes, there is a learning curve with like learning the pickups and the, how to pick up the stitches and how to do the increases and how to use the worksheet, which we can go over if you want to. But once you see how to do it, it should be very easy and streamlined and doable. And it should.
Let me tell you a secret. Even if you don't get the increases right and the left banded ones right banded, it still looks good if you use a dark color like I did in my first one. So,
and I always say to people when I teach, sometimes your brain just does not want to learn something new. And if these aren't the types of increases you do, use whatever you want.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're the one who needs to be happy with it. And if you're happy with whatever kind of increase, great, go with it. Yeah. And I always say that about fit too. It's not for me or anyone to tell you what you should wear. We have a little chapter in the book on sort of fit and flatter, but it's not so much about everybody looking like a pinup girl. It's about, it goes back to sort of art and balance. And so the eye seeks balance. And that's why, if you're broad-shouldered, maybe you want the eye to balance you at the hip. If you're, there are some tips in there but the main thing is to go to your closet, look at what you wear, measure some things that you feel comfortable wearing, and then just aim for that. Probably you'll have a good, and a lot of times I measure a sweatshirt because that's usually what I'm wearing. Yeah. It's my brattiest old sweatshirt.
Yeah. But I also noticed that none of your designs resembles anything that is already there. So I think you have a certain philosophy about what you want to design when you make new designs.
Yes, I never know what is gonna suddenly inspire something. and then I have to knit it right away. And my team is always like, oh, because I'll knit something up and then I have to knit one and actually like take notes and figure out what the heck I did, because I'm on such a tear because I just get inspired and just whip out something.
But I remember you also said that it's very important for you that the material is easy to access, to be accessed, and also that you try to be as organic as possible with your designs or with your yarn choices.
Yeah, I only use natural fibers. I just feel like you can't beat Mother Nature. All the acrylic and the polyester, it's like we didn't need it. Someone made us think that we did, and we didn't. We never needed it. I love natural fibers. I can always tell when I'm knitting with it. And I just, as soon as something, and I also don't love superwash yarn. I don't like it with the scales off. Just give me a bouncy, honest to God wool that somehow remembers where it came from.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with food. I don't eat, I try and steer clear of processed foods and stuff.
That's a good comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think a lot of people are like that too with their food.
Yeah.
They wouldn't really eat at McDonald's. So why would you accept that in your knitting? Which is how I got into designing the tools and the accessories.
Okay.
I don't know.
What was your first accessory?
Should we move into that? So, I guess my first product, and the one that I think back to H&H that Tracy was most terrified of shipping with, were our knitter's blocks, which I don't have one with me. That's the little, so when I was traveling and teaching, I had to come up with a way. I used to teach blocking, which is just basically washing your hand knit and setting all the stitches before you wear it. And I came up with the interlocking puzzle set, but people can go get the cheap ones they have them for baby mats and all kinds of, but they always smell of off-gassing chemicals. So ours are as eco-friendly as we can get them at this stage. We're really hoping to get some foam that doesn't come. So we use EVA. It is formaldehyde and formaldehyde free. We've gotten it as far as we can. We're waiting for sort of a next generation foam that doesn't have any petrochemicals in it at all. But ours shouldn't smell. They don't have the smelly, yucky chemicals in it. No, but it allows you, and then we also have a little layer on top that lifts your knitting up off of it, helps it to dry a bit. The moisture isn't going to pool like it does. So that was our first product. And I think the next one was probably the Maker's Keep, which is the little silicone slap bracelet with the magnet. I've got sewing pins on mine because I was just sewing, and that's what I use it for a ton. I also have blue hands because I was dyeing with indigo yesterday. Can't see that.
So it was not the stitch markers?
Well, this is kind of, let's see, did it go to, it must have been stitch markers and then this, or they may have come out sort of together. Oh yeah, they did. They used to be in a kit and they came together because the stitch markers. So a lot of the women that I was teaching in the Bay Area in San Francisco commuted on the ferry, on BART, on, buses, trains, whatever. And they would say, my cable needles, I lose them. My stitch markers, I lose them when I'm on the go. And so I came up with this that also came with tapestry needle, cable needle, and stitch markers. And then what I did was I got the stitch markers in colors when I came up with the worksheet.
Yeah.
And every tool, pretty much every tool for knitting that we do comes or is metal, so it sticks to magnets. Yeah, once we went down that road, we have magnets everywhere. Everything.
What is your favorite product, or what is your?
I think it's always the latest one.
Okay.
We just got these in. So these are now European size. This is the project portfolio.
Yeah.
And
European
it's now
size.
A5.
Dean, yeah,
And we
perfect.
redesigned it so it has this pouch in the back. But my favorite thing is the colors. So you can change out the elastics that hold everything. And we put a bunch more colors in it.
Oh yeah.
Aren't they fun? The photographer has mine that I
Oh
swapped
yeah, I
out.
like the colors very much.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I've got one that has I think I put the mustard color around here, and then my spine ones are like pink or aqua or something.
Yeah.
So
Good
this
idea.
allows you to,
Nice.
whatever you're working on, you just put the magazines or the brochures, patterns, whatever it is, through the spines. It's like a Japanese travel journal. So you just keep adding things to the elastics. And then
Perfect.
this is big enough now to put a few little tools, or your iPad or your phone or whatever.
Perfect. Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah. We just got those. I'm very excited.
So we will get them soon too, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think so.
They should be.
Perfect.
What? And then, well, funny story wise, well, let's see. So the reason that I did the colored markers is, so back to the patterns, when you're doing the seamless yoke, this is also based on Japanese
Okay. Yeah.
patterns, where they give you a series of numbers, and it was up to you to sort of put them on a chart. And I used to teach how to read Japanese knitting patterns. And so what I would do for people if they wanted to knit seamless, bottom up, when that started to be a thing, I would put all their little charts together for them. So they were supposed to knit in pieces, separate sleeves, separate fronts, separate back. And they had little, just one column charts that told them how to shape each piece. And I thought, if you just put all those charts together, line them up, separate each chart with a marker in your knitting, now you can just knit it seamless.
Yeah.
So I just did that for my students. And then one day I was like, and then top down knitting was a thing. I cannot wear raglan. They look horrible on me. So
yeah, they look horrible on everybody because they are too tight. And
I would never, I think some people, if they're shaped like a model, they can wear anything. It's
well,
fine.
maybe for men it may work, but not for women.
I cannot wear raglan. I just feel like a potato sack. I can't do it. So then the challenge was, and I do love a challenge, how could I knit with English tailoring, top down and seamless? And that's when my putting all the charts together came together. And then for my students, I used to take a colored marker and make each of these lines a different color, and then gave them 6 different colors of markers. And as long as they put those markers in their knitting, they could just look at this and see exactly where they were. And I taught it once at Clara Parks. I don't know who Clara Parks is. I taught it at her retreat, and there were a few teachers and designers in that class, and they came to me afterwards and said, "This is fantastic. It makes so much sense. Can we design this way? Do you mind if we start writing patterns this way?" And I thought, oh, yes, that's fine. I love it. I love for people to do this. But on the other hand, if I don't, I did come up with it.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like, oh dear, I have to write a book, don't I? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I should explain to those who don't know the journal that goes with the book. I think some pages are also in the book. Yeah, it's in the back, but it's possible to order the journal separately so that you can really be free and draw into it and write into it. So I never do that. I don't like to write into books, but so I make
right. So we have a whole booklet of just these blanks. And it is literally my knitting journal, because I put every note. I write all over it. I don't know why I don't have one sitting right here. But yeah, on the other page, I have all sorts of things written, but you can keep track of what yarn you used, what needles, how many skeins.
Yeah.
any alterations you made, I started with a large, went down to a medium, the sleeves are a, whatever.
Yeah.
And then
No,
if you
it's
ever
really
knit it
like,
again, you have all your information there. That's the idea.
you can really use it as a knitting Bible. So it's really something that I refer to regularly.
Yeah.
So, I think the next product were not stitch markers, stitch holders,
Stitch stoppers.
Stitch stoppers.
At this point, I just keep them in a bowl. I have so many, and I always need them. And then I also have a bunch in my project wallet. So these came about because I also teach retreats where it's a longer term. We're actually trying to knit, get through as much of a sweater as we can. And whenever we go to try on the sweater, that's the nice thing about knitting top down. You can constantly, from the time you get the shoulders built, you can start to try it on and adjust anything you need to on the fly. But every time someone would go to kind of try their sweater on, off would slide some stitches, even though they thought they were being careful. I can't stand those needle tips, the ones that just stick on the tip of the needle. I feel like when I came to hand knitting, when I looked at the tools that were the accessories that were available, they hadn't changed. They were what my grandmother was using in the
exactly
70s. Yeah. And they also felt like, and Britt, I think I think it's changing a lot now, but even when I first started to go to H&H, when we met, a lot of men in the industry who were sort of old school salesmen, and they didn't knit. So they,
none of them.
Someone designed these things, but they weren't a knitter. They didn't understand how we use them really.
Yeah.
So I used to buy earplugs, foam earplugs, and bring them along to the retreats and poke a hole in it and say, and we called them marshmallows because I'd always get white earplugs and say, put your marshmallows on before you try your sweater on. Your stitches are going to fall off. The problem with earplugs, they come in one size.
Yeah.
So I needed various sizes. So again, I ended up getting those made again as close as we can get to eco-friendly, formaldehyde-free, formaldehyde-free. Always supposedly there are foams coming from mushrooms. We're constantly watching for it to make it more eco-friendly. Again, back to that, like I wouldn't knit with acrylic and polyester. Why would I want to look in my knitting bag and see a bunch of cheap plastic? There are cheaper options out there, but that's why we do it the way we do at Cocoknits.
And I remember some of the products are made of plant-based material, like the tape measures, I think, are, and some
tape
others
measures, and we've got needle gauges and rulers, and those are literally made out of plant waste. So in fact, the other day I dropped one of mine on the hard floor, and it opened up, and the thing came out, and it was like there's no way I can coil that back in there. I did try, but
maybe you find another one in your
right. Like but the great thing is the outer all this is the outer casing, which is compostable. So I put the outer casing into the compost bin. It does need to be a commercial compost. It's so hard it probably wouldn't break down in a home compost.
No.
So threw it in the compost bin, and inside is just metal. And that went in the recycle. And that's it. At least it's not going to live in the environment for the next, 1500 years. And it's,
How many products do you have by now?
We have over 40.
It's incredible. I can only see in our web.
Had, maybe 3 when I met you.
Yeah. And now you're covering a whole wall in our warehouse. And I'm like, well, is she ever going to stop inventing?
Oh my goodness. Every time I think, okay, that's it. And then another idea pops up. I might not be done yet.
Yeah.
We also have a new product coming out. This isn't quite the right color. It's not new, but we released the fuzz off comb.
Yeah.
Which unfolded, and that made people think that arm, I don't even have one here. the thing that folded out was a handle, and it wasn't. You were supposed to like hold it over the blade.
Okay.
It was very misleading. I totally get why people are holding it out there. It does look like that must be where I'm supposed to hold it, but that then breaks because it's too.
Okay.
So we designed it, and now it's a little,
Perfect.
yeah, with just a little cover. So those are coming soon. And again, it's made out of plant waste. The only other part of it is this little comb. And the reason that this is so good is that this is based on, this is what I do, is I happened on this because this is a Korean skincare. So it's for women, like shaving little fuzzy hairs.
Okay.
And so I had the blade made longer. The thing I love about this is that it is a very sharp blade, but there's a little mesh that is welded to the top of it. So there's not enough blade exposed for you to cut yourself.
Clever.
I can, try and slice away, and it cannot, there's not enough blade area. But on your knits, as you shave, it surgically slices off the fuzzies. It's so good. And really, really, it's so much better than scraping them off with the stones, and that upgrades your fabric. So I'm in love with this. Once I get going on shaving a sweater, you can't stop.
So when is this available?
They are making them now. So in the next
2 months.
few months. Yeah. And then we have to figure out what to do with the ones that we already have that have the handle, but we'll figure that out. They're fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It's exactly the same blade. It's just we couldn't, if you get one, you just think, oh, that's a handle. It's like, no, hold it over the blade. Anyway.
Well, we have to explain it. No problem.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Exciting. Very exciting.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And then the other thing I'm obsessed with is my project wallet. I think you guys have these. So when I start a sweater, I will go down the list, on the pattern. It tells you what you're going to need. So I just go down the list and put absolutely every single thing that I'm going to need into my little project wallet. Stands up, so you can put it next to you while you're knitting. And every little needle, and the long needles curl up and fit in there, so you can fit circular needles. I've got my cord holder to when I take off the sleeves and hold. I even have my emery boards, because you always snag something and need them. And then it has these little hanging file folders that go down in there, so you can lift those up out of there so stuff doesn't get caught way in the bottom. But I've got my stitch stoppers and my claw clips, just what I need for the project I'm working on. And then this is all I need to take with me in my knitting bag. The problem was every time I would knit, do I take every tool I own, like everywhere? And that got to be too much. So this is just what you need.
This looks great. And I think this is something that I will need. If you have a second home, then you're always in trouble because you can't have everything twice. So I think I have to keep an eye on that one.
Exactly what I do. I have my main stuff, like a craft caddy or some of the other things that are bigger with all of my things in it. And then this is just what I need for that project. And it really does fold up really in a compact. And I think that's the other thing. We always are should we do it with leather? Because there's a lot of leather stuff out there too. Yeah. But this is that craft paper fabric. This I put through the washing machine with some towels.
You already did? Wow.
Yeah, it gets really
nice,
crinkly, kind of more leather-like, but it's thin enough and lightweight enough. I feel like leather gets to be kind of heavy and bulky.
And it's a vegan alternative.
Exactly. And it's just made of cotton. So it's 100% cotton.
Yeah, perfect.
But really sturdy. So yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, Julie, what else do you want to tell our customers or me or the world?
I think the main thing is back to that, like kind of thinking about if you wouldn't knit with polyester and acrylic, you know, kind of when you go to buy, like whatever you have already is fine. That's what you should use. But when you go to buy any accessories, think about the planet in that respect too. And that's what we try and do is I don't want to put more plastic in the world. We really want to, I feel like if I'm knitting with gorgeous, you know, special natural fibers, I want my knitting tools to not be bright plastic junk.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. And I can only say that our yarns love these kind of accessories more than others. So they go well together in the knitting basket, and there's no fighting. I don't hear any rumors, any fights.
Yes, I totally agree.
Okay. Well, I think it was a very, very nice chat. Thank you for giving insight to your product development and how it all started off and everything. And yeah, I'm looking forward to continuing our great cooperation.
Exactly. It's so nice to work with. I mean, I know Karsten is in there and Reinhardt, there are some men, but for the most part, it's nice to support other women businesses, women-owned businesses, and it's been fantastic. And I feel like probably most yarn shop owners, not all of them, but a lot of them are
most
women. The majority of them are, and we love to support yarn shops. So again, and once we get the class translated into German, we've got the book in Danish and in German, and now Italian and French and Spanish. If shops are doing anything that they want us to promote, we're happy to put events and things on our website. If they're going to host a Cocoknits shop or a class or something,
perfect.
Let us know and we'll promote it. We'll help promote it too.
We will do that. Thank you so much, Julie. It was such a pleasure as always. I think we always, also on the personal level, we always went along so well, and it was always fun working with you.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you and take care.
You too. Have a great day.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.